Welcome to the Evolution of Man. This series challenges the version of manhood many of us inherited. The silence, the pride, the emotional distance. The belief that providing money excuses a lack of presence. The belief that effort only counts when someone notices. Men have grown, but many of us are still carrying values built for survival, control, and performance. Values that limit how we show up with the women, with partners, with children, with ourselves. Part 1 turns the mirror towards men. This is where we confront the ego, the excuses, the surface level healing, the emotional gaps we keep asking our families to accept. So you may believe the cards are stacked against you. You may believe change takes too much time. You may believe this is simply who we are, but it is what it is often what we say when accountability feels harder than staying the same. So this series is not here to shame men. This series is here to challenge men who know their families deserve more. Your partner should not have to beg for emotional safety. Your children should not have to study your moods. The people who love you should not have to lose themselves trying to reach you. The question is not whether men are capable of changing. The question is whether we are willing to stop defending the version of us that keeps causing harm. Connect with 15 Minutes with Dad on social media and join the conversation. Join our weekly call-ins and fatherhood community on Discord at 15 Minutes with Dad. Share your story, your struggles, or the work you are doing by emailing me directly at Lirec, Lirec at 15minuteswithdad.com. This is part 1. The mirror is up. So let's get honest. She says, I don't feel heard. You respond, I listen to you all the time. She says, I need more help. You respond, look, I work every day for this family. Your child says, you're always angry, Dad. You respond, I'm not angry, you're just not listening. Your co-parent says, look, we need a better communication process. You respond, you are always trying to control everything. Maybe a friend says, look, you have changed. You respond, you do not understand what I'm dealing with. Notice the pattern? Someone described their experience about you. You answer by defending your identity. They say, this behavior hurt me. You hear, you're a bad man. They say, I need something different. You hear, you are failing. They say, please listen. You hear, submit. That is ego as armor. The armor protects you from shame. The armor also blocks connection. You feel protected, but everyone around you feels pushed away. Welcome back to 15 Minutes with Dad. I am Lirec Williams. This is episode 2 of the Evolution of Man. This title is Ego as Armor, Why Feedback Feels Like Disrespect. Episode 1 examined the man you inherited. We looked at the beliefs about strength, leadership, provision, vulnerability, and emotional expression passed from one generation to the next. Today, we look at what happens when someone questions those beliefs. Many men do not reject feedback because we hate growth. We reject feedback because feedback touches an old wound. A wound that might say, I am never enough. I am always wrong. Or nobody respects me. I have no control. My value depends on my performance. Or I must prove myself. If I admit fault, I lose authority. If people see weakness, they will use it against me. Now, when feedback touches one of those wounds, the conversation changes. You stop listening for information. You start listening for danger. Your body prepares for a fight. Your mind begins building a case. And your ego steps forward to protect you. The person speaking might discuss dirty dishes, a missed appointment, your tone, or an unmet emotional need. Inside your nervous system, the issue feels much larger. It feels like a trial about your worth. And this is why a small conversation turns into a major conflict. The argument is rarely about one moment. The argument is about the meaning attached to the moment. Men often confuse ego with confidence, but they are not the same. Your confidence says, I know who I am and I remain open to learning. Your ego says, look, I need you to agree with who I believe I am. Confidence will receive information, but ego controls the narrative. Confidence admits mistakes. Ego explains them. Confidence asks questions. Ego prepares rebuttals. Your confidence separates identity from behavior. Ego treats criticism of behavior as an attack on their identity. Confidence says, look, I handled this badly. But ego hears, I'm a bad person. Confidence creates room for repair. Ego creates a courtroom. Someone shares a concern, you become the defense attorney. You challenge their wording, you question the timing, you inspect their tone, you search for inconsistencies in their statements, you bring up their past and their other issues to cover up yours, you explain every reason behind your behavior. You debate whether their feelings even make sense. By the end, the original concern disappears. You might feel like you won. The relationship still lost. A person who repeatedly loses emotional safety while speaking will eventually stop speaking. Silence does not always mean peace. Sometimes silence means someone no longer believes honesty will help. Defensiveness usually has a history. Perhaps you grew up around constant criticism. Nothing felt good enough. A low grade brought punishment. A mistake brought humiliation. Crying brought ridicule. Asking questions brought anger. You learned to protect yourself through explanations. You learned to hide mistakes. You learned to deny before anyone blamed you. Perhaps you grew up inside chaos. Adults behaved unpredictably. You survived by reading moods, controlling outcomes, and staying prepared. As an adult, a partner's concern felt like the beginning of another unstable moment. Perhaps your worth came through achievement. You earned love through performance, sports, grades, work, money, leadership, productivity, being useful. You became the dependable man, the strong man, the problem solver, the provider. And when someone says you missed an emotional need, your identity shakes. You think, how am I failing when I do so much? The answer is not easy. Effort and impact are different measurements. You might work hard and still miss something important. You might love deeply and still behave defensively. You might mean well and still create distance. You might carry heavy responsibilities and still need growth. None of those truths erase your value. They make you human. Ego does not believe human is safe. Ego believes you must appear correct, strong, and in control, so the armor stays on. For many men, respect holds deep emotional meaning. Respect represents worth. I've even heard statements, and I've talked to different people, and they've mentioned, I would rather have respect than to have love. But there are men who believe that respect represents worth, status, authority, safety, belonging, masculine identity. When a partner questions a decision, some men experience more than disagreement. They experience a loss of position. When a child challenges a rule, some fathers experience more than frustration. They experience a threat to authority. When a co-parent asks for accountability, some men experience more than a request. They experience accusations. The mind translates feedback into disrespect. That translation often happens before conscious thought. But here's the sequence. First, someone raises a concern. Second, your body feels threatened. Third, shame appears. Fourth, ego covers shame with anger, logic, dismissal, or withdrawal. Then the other person reacts to your defensiveness. Then their reaction becomes evidence inside of your mind. You tell yourself, see, they never respected me anyway. And the cycle feeds itself over and over again. But their original pain remains untouched. There's current research on men's mental health links rigid masculine expectations with emotional restriction, self-reliance, and low help-seeking, loneliness, and difficulty disclosing distress. A 2025 systematic review found traditional masculine norms often shape whether men seek psychological support, especially when vulnerability conflicts with their understanding of strength. A 2024 review also found norms centered around independence, emotional stoicism, and enduring pain increases men's vulnerability to loneliness and weak social connections. The lesson reaches beyond therapy. When a man believes he must handle everything alone, feedback feels less like support and more like exposure. When emotional pain carries shame, anger becomes a safer language. When being wrong feels dangerous, defensiveness becomes automatic. So the armor once helped you survive. Now the armor prevents people from reaching you. Ego rarely announces itself. It hides behind familiar behaviors. I call these the 4 shields of defensiveness. Shield 1, explanation. Someone says, "You hurt me." You immediately explain why. "I was tired. I had a long day. Look, I was under pressure. Look, I didn't mean it like that." Or "I was just trying to help." Context matters. Timing matters too. An explanation offered before acknowledgement sounds like dismissal. Try this instead. This is called validation. "Look, I hear the impact. I want to understand before I explain." That sentence is a basic sentence, but it creates some kind of space. You listen first, explain later. Repair before defending intention. Shield number 2, the counterattack. Someone raises your behavior, you raise theirs. "Well, you do the same thing." "Look, you never appreciate me. What about the last week?" "You are not perfect either." This turns accountability into competition. Both people now fight to prove who caused more pain. Healthy relationships do not require one innocent person and one guilty person. Both people might need accountability. Address one issue at a time. Their mistake does not erase yours. And if you validate, you'll find that you will spend more time on the actual issue at hand than arguing about who hurt who more. That doesn't matter at the end of the day. Shield number 3, technicality. You focus on one incorrect word or detail to dismiss the whole concern altogether. They say, "Look, you always interrupt me." You respond with, "I didn't interrupt you yesterday." Technically, you might be right. Relationally, you missed the whole message. Words like always, never often express emotional exhaustion rather than mathematical accuracy. We call those power words. So you ask this instead, like, what pattern are you trying to help me understand? Look beneath the imperfect word. Let's take a quick pause for a moment. If this podcast has helped you slow down, see something different, or show up better as a dad, I want to ask you to do one simple thing for me. Take a second and rate 15 Minutes with Dad on whatever platform you're listening on right now. Those ratings help this work reach more fathers who are trying to do better, more men who are trying to be greater in their families' lives. And if you're having a meaningful moment, an awesome conversation with your kids, a breakthrough, or even a hard lesson that you're learning and want to share it on social media and tag us at 15 Minutes with Dad. And I read them. They matter a lot to me. And they remind other dads they're not doing this alone. All right, let's get back to it. Shield number 4, withdrawal. Some men do not argue. They call it turtling. They tend to disappear, they stop talking, or they leave the room, ignore messages, become emotionally cold, refuse affection, avoid the issues for days. Withdrawal looks calmer than yelling. Emotional message still feels punishing. A healthy pause has structure. You can say something like, "Look, I feel overwhelmed. I do not want to react poorly. I need 30 minutes. I'll return at 7:30 so we can finish this conversation." You get to name the pause. You get to name the return. You get to honor the return time. But if you create space without communication, it feels like abandonment. Space with structure supports regulation. Shame says you are the problem. Accountability says you participated in a problem. Shame says you are a terrible father. Accountability says you yelled, frightened your child, and you need to repair. Shame also says you are a failed partner. But accountability says you dismissed an emotional need and just need to listen differently. Shame attacks your entire identity. Accountability examines a specific behavior and keeps focus on that behavior and not your identity. A man trapped in shame has two common options: collapse or defend. If you collapse, it sounds like, look, I can't do anything. I can't do anything right. Oh, I guess I'm the worst person in the world. Look, you would be better without me. This might sound vulnerable. Often, it shifts emotional labor back onto the person who raised the concern in the first place. Your spouse, your child, your co-parent, your girlfriend. Now, they must comfort you because you are overwhelmed and you feel like the world is crashing on top of your shoulders because you feel shameful. The original issue completely disappears. Defending sounds like you are exaggerating. Look, that never happened. Bro, you're too sensitive. Look, you made me react this way. Look what you made me do. Both responses avoid responsibility. Healthy accountability sounds different. It sounds like this. Look, I understand why my behavior hurt you, or I felt defensive, but I am listening now. My intentions was different from my impact. Look, I need time to think, and I'll return to this conversation. Oh, you deserve a calmer response. Just give me a second. Look, I see the pattern. I understand. Look, I will work on a specific change. I will work on this change or that change. That is strength. A man does not lose dignity by admitting fault. He shows integrity. From inside your body, defensiveness feels protective. From the outside, it often feels lonely. Your partner experiences, I must present my pain perfectly, or he will dismiss it. Your child may experience, Dad cares more about being right than understanding me. So I'm going to just make him feel right and go about my day. Your co-parent experiences something like, every request becomes a fight. Your friend experiences, look, he only wants honesty when honesty agrees with him. Your team experiences, mistakes are unsafe around him. You might believe you are protecting respect. The people around you might be losing trust. Respect built through fear disappears when authority disappears. Respect built through consistency, humility, and safety grows over time continuously. Children do not trust parents because parents never make mistakes. Children trust parents who take responsibility for their mistakes. Partners do not require flawless men. They need men who stay emotionally present when the conversations become uncomfortable. Leadership does not mean avoiding correction. It means receiving correction without making truth unsafe. Look, y'all, men are speaking more openly about irritability, emotional shutdown, relationship strain, and the fear of losing control. In public fatherhood conversations, dads are often describing realizing too late they snapped over something small. They know their reactions feel different after becoming fathers, yet they struggle to identify what changed beneath the anger. Men also describe loneliness inside marriages, fear about separation, and uncertainty about when a relationship has become too damaged to repair. These conversations reveal an important truth. Men are not emotionless. Many men are emotionally overwhelmed without language support or safe practice. Irritability is often the visible emotion. Under it might be fear, shame, grief, exhaustion, rejection, pressure, loneliness, helplessness, a sense of failure. The work is not to remove emotion. The work is to identify the emotion before it controls the room. A recent discussion in psychology also emphasizes healthier forms of masculinity rather than treating masculinity itself as the problem. The focus has shifted toward retaining courage, responsibility, purpose, and service while loosening rigid expectations around dominance, invulnerability, and emotional silence. Men's talking circles and peer support spaces have also gained attention as places where men practice honesty without judgment. Participants often describe relief, clearer thinking, and stronger social connection after speaking openly. The need is clear. Men need spaces where honesty does not lower status. Men need relationships where vulnerability does not become ammunition. Men also need the courage to stop using past hurt as permission for present harm. Here is the framework for this episode, the armor check, if you will. It has 5 steps. Step 1, notice the body. Before defensiveness becomes words, it becomes sensation. Maybe a tight chest, tight neck, hot face, faster heartbeat, clenched jaw, shallow breathing, restlessness, pressure behind the eyes, an urge to interrupt, an urge to leave, an urge to prove. Learn your signal. Your body often knows your ego arrives before your mouth does. Step 2, let's name the story. Ask, what am I telling myself right now? There's some possible answers. She thinks I'm a bad man, or my child does not respect me, or I'm losing control. Nobody appreciates me. I am failing. I must defend myself. The story creates the reaction. Naming the story slows the reaction. Step 3, separate the identity from the behavior. We talked about it quite a bit in this episode. Say internally, this conversation addresses a behavior. This conversation does not define my full identity. You are more than your worst response. You still own your worst response. Both truths matter. Step 4, ask one open question. Try, what part hurt you the most? What pattern are you seeing? What did you need from me in that moment? What would repair look like? What did my response communicate to you? Do not ask questions designed to trap or debate. Ask questions to understand. One I typically like to go to is, what do you need from me? Yes, you said all these things. What is something that you need from me in this moment? What can I do in this moment? Lastly, step 5, choose a response. A grounded response includes 3 parts: acknowledgement, ownership, and action. For example, you can say something like, I understand my tone made you feel dismissed. That's acknowledgement. I became defensive and interrupted you. That's ownership. Next time, I will pause and let you finish your responding. Action. No excuse, no counterattack, no emotional performance. Clear ownership, clear next step. So let's take a moment and pause and think. Think about the last difficult conversation you had. What did the other person say? What did you hear? Those might be different. They said, I need your help. You heard, you do nothing. They said, I feel disconnected. You heard, you are not enough. They said, your tone scared me. You heard, you are a bad father. They said, we need another approach. You heard, you have no authority. Ask yourself, what old wound translated their words? What identity were you protecting? What truth became inaccessible once you became defensive? Then ask the harder question. What has your armor cost you? Has it cost emotional intimacy, trust, friendship, access to your children, peaceful co-parenting, a marriage, a relationship, a leadership opportunity, a chance to repair? Armor feels heavy because armor was never designed for closeness. You cannot embrace someone while holding a shield between you. This week, identify one defensive habit. Choose one. Explaining too quickly, counterattacking. Maybe it's correcting technical details, walking away without returning, raising your voice, using sarcasm, shutting down, blaming your reaction on someone else. Then tell one trusted person, I am working on how I receive feedback. When you see me, use this defensive habit. Please say armor. One word, no lecture, no argument. When they say it, stop. It could be your partner, it could be your child, it could be your co-parent. Just say, when you notice these behaviors or any of these behaviors, just say armor. And when they say it, stop. Take one breath. And then ask, what did you need me to hear? Listen for 2 full minutes without interruption. Then respond with, what I hear you saying is, then repeat their message in your own words. Ask whether you understood it correctly. Your goal is not agreement. Your goal is accurate understanding. You still hold a right to your own perspective, but understanding another person does not erase your voice. It helps both voices enter the room. So try that this week. Ego is not evil. Ego tries to protect you. The problem begins when protection blocks the truth. You learned armor for a reason. Perhaps people judged you, mocked you, abandoned you, controlled you, shamed you, used vulnerability against you. Those experiences really matter. Your healing matters too. The people who loved you should not spend their lives fighting armor built for people who are no longer in the room at all. Feedback is not always accurate. It's not always fair. It's not always delivered well. But maturity means evaluating the message without surrendering your self-respect. You do not need to accept every accusation. You do need enough emotional security to ask whether part of the message is true. Strong men do not avoid mirrors. Strong men look long enough to change what no longer serves them. Your family does not need you to lose your strength. They need your strength to become accessible. Strength which listens, strength which stays, strength which repairs, strength which takes ownership, strength which does not confuse accountability with humiliation. Episode 3 will examine emotional avoidance and the hidden ways men escape discomfort through work, phones, substances, sex, silence, anger, and constant productivity. The episode is called The Escape: Why Men Avoid What They Feel. So follow 15 Minutes with Dad on all social media platforms and make sure that you share your story with me. You can email me directly at lyric@15minuteswithdad.com. That's LIREC@15minuteswithdad.com. Share this episode with a man who knows how to protect everyone except himself. This is 15 Minutes with Dad. I'm Lirec Williams. Lower your shields, listen for the truth, and keep evolving. Before you move on, let's pause here. Because growth doesn't happen in the listening. It happens in what you choose next. So you don't need to change everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Stay present long enough to practice something different. So carry this into your home, into those small moments, the hard conversations, and the quiet decisions no one applauds. That's where fatherhood is built. And if something here resonated, let it become action. Let it become consistency, or become the way that you lead. Because this is how trust is formed. This is how safety is felt. And this is how generational change actually happens. And if this episode helps you, share it with another father who's trying to do better. And if you have a story, a win, or a lesson you're learning, email me at Lirec, Lirec, at 15minuteswithdad.com. That's Lirec at 15minuteswithdad.com. Because this work grows through shared experiences.